Hi all, welcome into our commentary video, Bird's Eye versus Eye Level View. And we are Cinzia and Angelina, and today we are going to present our projects, and we're gonna try to also introduce you to our methodologies and techniques we used to develop our short documentary.
Hello, I'm Angelina. I am a graphic and information designer based in Athens, Greece. And I made the documentary, maybe also essay film, Monopoly.
My name is Cinzia Bongino. I am a graphic and information web designer and a bit of everything, basically. I am based now in Italy, in Torino. And my short documentary is The Weapons Reputation, and it's an investigation into the geopolitics of arms trade. And it's basically a short documentary that tries to question the integrity of the arms trade as a legal transfer of weapons. And it does so by using 3 weapons to represent which countries are actually involved into a very local conflict as the Yemeni civil war, which is still ongoing. And the first question is, why did you choose this topic, Angelina? And how did you conduct the research?
I chose this topic because I had already researched the privatizations of large public companies in Greece for another project. And the port of Piraeus, which is the main topic of Monopoly, was presented as a kind of a very successful privatization by the local media, which is something that was not visible to me whenever I visited Piraeus. So I was very interested into finding which, for whom this success was for.
Oh yeah.
And you, why did you choose your topic?
Yeah, I don't have actually any relations with weapons or arms or conflict. I just had the occasion in 2019 to participating into kind of boot camp, a very intense workshop with some Dutch journalists in Belgium, in which we tracked arms, European arms, and how they were exported to European and non-European states, and how they were actually used in a conflict situation. This bootcamp, this workshop wasn't a single workshop, it was part of a bigger project, which is called the EU Arms. And it has already happened in several countries like Italy, Germany, UK, France, etc. And the 14 days that I spent there, and I learned much, very much. So I thought that it was a topic that was not that close to the general audience. So I try to bridge this gap with this kind of short film and an accompanying database, which is available online.
And how did you find this? So you found the database of weapons in this workshop, but how did you?
Yeah, no? Not really in the workshop, because there are available some databases online. It's not like information that we invented or we found through like secret advisors or people. No, these big databases on how weapons are sold and transferring among countries are available online, like CIPRI and other small European ones. And these data are all based on some public reports that each nation, each state should publish yearly. The problem of these reports is that they are not so transparent because sometimes they hide the information, they don't show it completely. So it's something that both exists and both you also have to reconstruct, cross-checking information between the official figures and then some local news in which instead they report another data set or another figures. So it's kind of balance in between. And
but the database was very important.
No, for sure. I mean, without it, it would have been a very difficult way to present this kind of storyline and to prove the various connections among the states. So for sure it was an essential element.
And would you have attempted to do this project if the database wasn't exactly as it was, or if it wasn't there? Would you have tried to approach it in a different way?
I agree, and I mean I agree as a question, but I know that probably I wouldn't be able to build it as I have done in this work, because it's basically a fact-based story, and it's since I'm no one, I was just graduating like a designer, was graduating with a project, so I didn't have this kind of textual visual evidence, which were also proved by bigger news media or other organizations that take care of these kind of topics and matters. Probably it would have been a complete another outcome, which maybe it was as well like understandable and still good to follow, etc. But maybe it was not as consistent as how it is today. And but I don't want to say with this that if a documentary is not fact-based, it does not represent numbers, it is not a documentary, because of course in your case you adopted a complete another approach, don't you?
Yes, but I was really aiming for your approach as well, and I didn't manage to find these facts, so that's why I want to talk with you also about different approaches and how it is to create this kind of thing with little facts, basically.
Yeah, but I don't think that they are the main thing, because like in your case, in your documentary, you definitely used another kind of information, like you entered in contact with local workers, with a local organization, with people, and you also gathered the information that was very fragmented. So I think it's also interesting, your approach, because you built kind of your own story on data that were not so sure. So
yes, but yeah, I think both have a different value. Both approaches have different value, and they both have they address different gaps in understanding information, I think. And yeah, for me, it was more of a situation where I had some sources that were confirming me some of what was happening, but they didn't want to be on camera. So I didn't have their testimonies either. And so it was definitely very interesting to try to go around the problems that kept occurring, and the fact that the data was not collected and the transactions were not transparent, not a lot of journalistic research existed, because this is also information that if you don't have this, it makes people wonder, where is this? And why isn't there such a data available to me about this? And people were asking this question when I was screening the film as well. And it made me very happy, because I think it's the kind of thing that we should demand from people, from decision makers, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And to connect to your last sentence, it's what I found very nice is that in your work, in your video, I don't only see this recording of the story of like a very footage recorded on field, but I also see the after of the movie, because you put the registration of the audience when they first were attending this screening. So at the very end, we hear also the last thoughts which is like a post process that I found fascinating, because in the first place I can relate to them, because I might also start a conversation with others that are also watching your work. But then it is also a testimony, which a memory, like something that becomes part of your documentation as well. And I think it's a very nice double level. And to talk also about your techniques as well, another thing that I found very interesting is that you use this split screen. We almost always see two different videos happening at the same time. So I wonder, what does this meaning, and why is it relevant in your documentary?
I used the split screen because I visually this place, I think it has two representations in most, at least Greek citizens or any citizen that might visit it or watch Greek television, and this is the representation it has on the news, and the whatever it is that you gather with your own eyes whenever you're there, because it's a place that people visit often for work or travel. And I try to split these images in an attempt to show that there is not a huge difference between what the news is showing actually and what I see there, but the huge difference is in what the news is telling, because it's laying out this visual with a very tense language. So it was a way to highlight a little bit this kind of channel of information.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's interesting because, of course, the all information are written and spoken in Greek, so it's a very local perspective. But I think it can really be a nice way to enter into the situation, also from a non-Greek perspective. So it intrigued me a lot.
Oh, that's good to hear. And in your technique was for me very clear. It was really making it transparent, your research methods, which I really appreciated. And is this why you chose it?
Yeah, actually, that you mentioned it, yes, because like while I was reflecting on it, basically it's like the video translation of the research that I've done for the thesis, because also the thesis book, it's structured with these 3 chapters and these 3 analyses of weapons fragments. As I said, for me, it was very important to include these 3 objects, because each of them was representing a country or multiple countries, and was a way to express, to show how many actors are actually involved in a conflict that is happening in the Middle East. And a very brief history moment, like the conflict in Yemen is started in the very end of 2014, beginning of 2015, and it's still ongoing. It's a very local clash between 2 oppositions, which basically don't agree on religion-wise and politics and way of governing the country. But the problem is that it's also it is defined as a proxy war between Iran and Saudi Arabia, because they both have an interest in the region, in the area, because it's very rich of oil and it's a very good connection with the rest of the countries through the ports. And it's a war that is fought with weapons that are not made locally, but of course they are bought by other countries. So the whole point of this work is posing the question on who has the responsibility of the continuation of this war, because of course the results are all on the population. And for going back to the question on why it has these structures, it is the form basically represent an investigation. So with these 3 case studies, I present you evidences, And then at the end, there is a conclusion which does not give a singular and conclusive answer, but it presents the actual state of the situation, in which that is like a very worldwide problems. And the situation is that the arms trade is not regulated enough to avoid these kind of problems on the civilian population.
Yes, it's very clear also from your field.
Good, because it's a lot in 17 minutes actually.
Oh, and well, since we're talking about the techniques and the footage, and why did you choose to not have a narrator?
Actually, for me, the first version of the video, the first attempt was had a narrator, in which it was basically my voice that was presenting the story, etc. But then later I realized that it was maybe not too personal, but not the right way to expose my findings. To connect to what I was saying in the beginning, since it's a fact-based story, and I am not really so, I don't have so much experience in the field, I decided to trust the sources that I have found and use them as the voice of my work, which means that the main audio that you listen is the audio of news media and videos that I have collected mainly on YouTube. And then you have a textual part, which is both text made by me and both text extracted from my findings. So it doesn't have a narrator, but you construct a narration on your own. It's almost like if you find findings like things, and then you follow one by one, and then you end up with a storyline, basically. Yeah, but I think that my approach is the complete opposite.
Yes, but exactly for the same reasons. Like you say, that the material guides you in a way on how to use it. For me, the material was the voices, so I had to find a way to give them some space to be a story instead of being a 6-hour long conversation. And it was exactly the same as with you, like in a way that I was kind of honoring my sources, because my sources were voices, so I added one more voice instead of only the text.
Yeah, but I think it is also nice that it's in Greek, the main voiceover, and nice that you have also these interviews as well. Also because you recorded on the field. I mean, you actually shoot the images, the visual that we are seeing. Was it difficult to going so close to the port, to enter in contact with the locals?
Well, first of all, I have to say that thank God George Gunezos helped me to film, because it's impossible to do it alone. Especially if you are getting an interview from someone. I don't think a lot of these shots would not have happened if he wasn't there with me. And yeah, I think it was not so difficult to speak with people that wanted to speak, but it was extremely difficult, and it actually didn't work for me to go inside the working area. I mean, I was kicked out of there 3 times, I think. So yeah, some parts were difficult and some parts were easier. Yeah, it was a bit fun.
Yeah, of course, because then the images are really yours. I mean, in my case, of course, I didn't shoot one single video that you see. As I said, I have collected it online, but I also used like Google Earth. I just use tools that are available to everyone. So when for the last part, advice for future documentary makers, like
yes.
if you want to do it alone, well, good luck.
Yes, exactly. So how has the situation changed in 2021 for your story?
Well, I think that for the Yemeni population, nothing has basically changed, unfortunately. But for the international audience, this topic and the conflict is more known than 2019. And this happened because of the several news articles published in the last few years with this matter, and the public more public attention towards the topic, which helped to change government policies and to force the state actors to be more aware of the arms exports. Like, to mention a few, for example, UK has banned any exports towards Saudi Arabia, and the same happened with Germany, mainly after the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Italy has recently revoked a selling of more than 12,000 of bombs to Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, which is very good. But we have to remember, to keep in mind that it's like, maybe the headlines say, okay, ban towards arms export and blah, blah, blah. But the problem of this kind of trade is that not always it's so easy to label a weapon, because maybe they are split in different components, which if you, for example, just sell an helicopter, which is can be helpful for rescuing civilians or for transport or whatever, but then separate, you sell like a gun, or you sell separately a gun or a turret or any other items to shoot to another countries, which this third country then resell it to Saudi Arabia, and then Saudi Arabia is able to assemble the machine gun or any kind of weapons system, then you are back to the main problem that you still arm these countries and you didn't really stop the killings of civilians or any other problems occurred. So it is essential that every nation controls very deeply and carefully each export. And yeah, I think this is the main change for me. It's been like years that people and analysts and people that work in the topic have said and repeat this. The problem is that every weapon is sold with a license, and this license happened 1 or 2 or 3 years before. Then you have the time span of production, which can take up to 10 years, maybe if you have to build a fighter jet. So it means that maybe an airplane, fighter jet that is gonna be delivered tomorrow has a license that has been sold, bought, and agreed 20 years ago. So how do you stop this? Because this also means that you cut jobs, you stop the production, then you have all the suppliers. So it's a very, very big machine.
Yeah.
And no, actually, like in Greece, our the activists and the organization that you interviewed, how they are doing it now?
They are still active in a way. I mean, the doc has progressed a lot, but they are still fighting so that it doesn't get completed. But a lot of damage has already been done. There were a lot of protests in the summer. It's very strange right now, the fact that with COVID-19 there is no cruise. Basically, the cruise industry has suffered a huge blow. So it's a bit unclear what will happen. How is this dock going to be used? Because the existing cruise dock is being used as a car terminal, which is new. And the worker situation has not changed. In fact, the last thing I heard was that they were called to testify by the Greek police because of a strike that called for a small demonstration, let's say. and they said that this was violating COVID regulations, but it's very unclear which exactly are the COVID regulations for the port, because I think that the dock workers go to work normally wearing masks possibly, but I don't think that they work from home.
No.
So yeah, it's a bit blurry right now what this is exactly. But yeah, it's just moved on as was expected.
Yeah, and do you know if the larger Greek population is aware of the real consequences of this new dock and ownership of the Chinese ownership of the port? Or, of course, it's something too big for them that they can't really.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that it has changed, but I think that there were some people that were interested in it. In the summer, in some protests, there was a big turnout, but now with all this turmoil that is going on in the Greek society, I think that everybody's choosing their battles differently. Many people didn't care about it from the beginning, and everybody considers this a lot of people think that this has been done, so it's done. What's done is done, kind of. For now, at least, I think this is the sentiment.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you try to do a documentary on something that is too big for you, like too big, like it's such a big matter that you cannot really do anything about reporting the matters in somehow.
Yes, but I mean, I also joined the protest. So
that's good. That's good.
Yes, and the way that my film was made was also as a way to help question things and gather information. So I screened it outdoors and to try and get some of the neighbors to also look at this whole thing from a different perspective. And actually, after the first lockdown, I think that people responded very positively to it, because everybody needed to socialize in a way to maybe connect with other people and try for something better for their health, for the neighborhood. But right now, I think this kind of thing is not going to happen again very soon. Should we? Do you have some advice to give to future documentary makers from this experience that you gained?
Wow. Well, if you want it, you can do it at the end. So it's just a matter of effort, of your own effort. The main characteristic of our work is that we basically conduct it alone, which is not what happens usually in a normal, let's say, documentary making situation, because of course there is like a bigger team, there are more professionals involved, everything acquire more like a higher level of expertise involved in somehow. But this doesn't mean that our work has less value in somehow, because of course we did not, you didn't interview like one of the main manager of Costco. I didn't go to Yemen in person. I think it's like gathering information in your home and then trying to present them. It's still a good way to make a documentary. And I think my only advice is to respect this kind of material that you gather, and it's not that you have to do like a 20 minutes film, a 30 minute film, or whatever. It can also be maybe 5 minutes, but as long as you are able to communicate a problem and to present what you've gathered in the best way possible.
Yeah, it's important to.
But do you think that, for example, if someone tells you something that asks not to be recorded, but then you aggregate this information without, of course, mentioning the name, you can present it and as like information gathered while conducting interviews, etc. Do you think that you can do it, or still it's not that legal? Or
I think that it, of course, it depends, but you have to always respect the person, because you don't have the same things at stake that they do. And they know why they ask you not to broadcast something. They know what the personal cost would be. And in my case, for example, I had a lot of unofficial talks with different people that I never managed to convince them to come on the record, even if we wouldn't specifically discuss one specific incident that they didn't want to say that they have witnessed. They didn't want to come forward at all. And this made me figure out a different solution, which I ended up making a film that asks more questions than it answers. Yeah, the people are not your project.
yeah,
This is very important. They are not your project. This is not something that it's something that people should never forget.
Yeah, I think it's a good sentence also to close this video as well.
Yes. Okay. So yes, thank you for watching.
We hope that you enjoyed, and if you want to know more, you can just go on movinginstasis.com. You look for our names, and then you have everything. And if you want to contact us, please do it. We are always very happy to talk about it and to have new inputs, feedback, whatever.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Bye.